Today's video is sponsored by BetterHelp.com, and I've been with them for a long time. BetterHelp is an online platform where we found that you can effectively communicate with your therapist. Now, you begin by filling out a questionnaire, and then you'll be matched with a therapist within a couple of days. And if that match isn't ideal for you, you can certainly make an adjustment there. Now, you're going to be encouraged to journal, and also they have the availability for group therapy on a wide array of topics, and I really like that. So as the need exists, go ahead and take the necessary steps to get the help that you need. And just know that BetterHelp has a 4.5 rating on Trustpilot, so it indeed is a platform you can trust. There's a link below the video that will take you there. Hey, Team Healthy. Hey, we've got a really interesting question here today. Keep in mind that on our Unbound series, what I do is I field questions and comments from you, and then I bring some, hopefully some light to it. And today we're going to be talking about the possibilities of a narcissist approaching you, letting you know, I need to change, and I want to make a distinct turn in my life, and I want to be a better kind of person. And then, of course, the question is, can that be trusted? Now, I want to go ahead and get the first question out here, and then I've got a second one that has a really strong illustration of the problems that can come along with this. And then let's see if we can sift this out and figure out what we need to watch for. The first person that asked the question is, what does it take to break through the narcissist's suit of armor? Now, already right there, the implication is, how can I help that person change? And that tends not to be a really good starting point. But then nonetheless, where is their breaking point? What has to crumble before the narcissist sees the light and admits, at least to themselves, that their way of looking at things is incorrect and self-destructive? Well, one of the things that I've discovered as I have counseled with many people through the years, I mean, when you've been in the therapy office for over 40 years, you hear all sorts of stories, and then you hear a whole lot of reactions and styles about people and how they respond to those stories. One of the things that you can't really do is you can't force that narcissist to say, I was wrong and I need some change. If you just keep coming at them like, come on, this is so inappropriate. You need to adjust. And I hate when you have this anger and all. Many times the narcissist is going to just give you some blowback, and it's not going to really, penetrate. Typically, a narcissist is not going to come to a point of change until there's been a major crisis that's in their life. Now, let's keep in mind that narcissism itself is a pattern on a spectrum. And the farther down you are on the spectrum, then the lower the likelihood is that that person is going to come to their breaking point, and they're going to come to a place of saying, I really want to make some adjustments, and they're serious about it. I mean, I'm putting it in numbers cases. If you have a person that's all the way down at the 95% level, first of all, they're never even going to say, I need to change. But if they do, no thank you. But let's say a person's at the 70% level. That's pretty strong still. But at least we've got a little wiggle room to work with if they're at the 55% level. And I know this is kind of an informal way to put it, or the 42% level. Then we might have a little bit more that we can work with, and there can be moments where they can have some decency. But even so, typically it's not going to be until there's been a really strong crisis. As an example, I recall one man who had sat in my office, and he was with his young wife. He was a young guy, like 30-ish or so, and he just confessed, I've got a girlfriend. I don't want to stay married to you, and I'm just going to go do my thing. I hate being pinned down. And he just walked out of my office, and she was just sitting there in my office with tears, of course. And sure enough, he hooked up with this girlfriend that he had already scoped out. And it just looked like everything was on the down low. About a year later, I got a call from that guy. And he said, do you remember me? And the answer is, well, of course I do. And he said, I need to come see you. And he came into my office, and he was a very different kind of person. I've made a complete mess of my life. I know that I have been rebelling against much of the teaching of my youth, and I've just always tried to be that right kind of guy. And I had a sowing of wild oats kind of thing, and I hate myself for that. And I just feel awful. Now, when somebody comes to my office with that kind of story, I'm listening because that's a crisis point. The girlfriend thing didn't work out, as you can easily imagine, and he had lost family members and friends because of it, and now here he was all by himself. One of the primary things that I watch for in those kind of moments is, are you still going to blame that other person? And are you going to require that other person to come back to you because now you've declared yourself to be on the mend? And when that happens, then I'm not impressed. In this guy's case, he said, I've spoken with they were still married. They had a divorce pending, but it wasn't final. I've spoken to my wife, and I've let her know that if she wanted to, I would be very willing to try to make some amends and see if we can restore our marriage. But I also told her if that doesn't happen, I absolutely don't blame her, and she can walk, and that's okay. In addition, he knew that his reputation had been smeared. And rather than thinking, well, I've got to get me a PR manager and see if we can clean that up, his comment was, I realize that my reputation has been ruined, rightly so, and I need to brace myself for a long haul. Long story short, this guy committed to therapy, and he stayed with it. And in fact, I was kind of surprised his marriage was restored. But it took a great deal of time. Interestingly, I knew some people that knew him and the wife. And several years later, I asked them about these individuals. How are they doing? And the answer was very positive. So we can have some moments like that. Now, let me give you another set of comments here, and then let's see where we go with this one. This person says, what about narcissists who repeatedly say or even insist that they're going to become a good person and uplifting toward other individuals? They dismiss and ignore their own outbursts, insults, bullying, control, attacks, and once it passes, they not only rewrite what occurred, but they practically beam with pride about how genuinely kind and loving they are. They literally talk about how they care for others people's now, and despite not actively treating others even decently, unless they want something from that person, then they will act tender and concerned very briefly. It's incredibly confusing and stressful to be around. Okay, that's classic gaslighting, and you can see that this is incredibly different from the person that I just described. More often than not, when a person is in a crisis mode, then sometimes the problem is so glaringly obvious that they know they have 100% no credibility if they just say it's not my fault. And so sometimes when they've got their hand caught in a cookie jar, so to speak, they have to say, mea culpa, I did wrong, and I need to do something different. And so short term, sometimes they can come along with that. But then you'll notice that in these kind of cases, they're wanting to try to dress things up, and then they're kind of looking around thinking, hey, did you notice that? I so recall another guy who had lost many of his family members. They just said, we don't want you around for holidays. You're too mean. You're too harsh. And we don't want our kids exposed to you, his nieces, nephews, grandkids, because of who you are. And so he came into my office and said, I got to clean up my act. And then as we began talking, I began having this feeling that he was being an actor. He was playing a role. For example, it's like, I know that I've been a bully and I know I have a bad temper. But the other day I was over at these people's houses. I was really nice with the kids, and I actually played a game with them, and nobody even noticed that. But I mean, that's how I'm changing. And when he said nobody even noticed that, it's like, well, were you doing it for show? And many times you can see that that's what their mindset is. And so I've jotted down a few things. When going back to that first question, what is the breaking point, and how can you know that there's a sincerity here? And these are some things that I watch for. Does that person try to draw attention toward their correct adjustments? Because when they do, I hope you noticed, I was kind. I walked that little old lady across the street. Do they express dismay when it becomes apparent that others' perceptions of them won't change? Going back to that first guy that I mentioned, in his case, it's like, I know that I've ruined my reputation, and that's just something I'm going to have to live with. And he didn't make any particular efforts to try to go and do all of the excuse giving to other individuals. It's like, I'm just going to concentrate on being a decent person, and if others can come on board, that would be wonderful. If not, I understand where they're coming from. Or another question is, are they committed to some form of ongoing therapeutic efforts? Now, for me, obviously, I'm a huge believer, proponent of therapy and counseling, or recovery groups, or developing a confidant or accountability partners, things like that, and not just short term, but for an ongoing kind of a period of time. You know, literally, this one guy came to me and said, "I've been going to counseling for a year, and my wife nothing impresses her." Well, I found out later in January he saw a therapist. About April he saw another therapist, the same therapist another time, and then in December he saw a separate therapist 3 different times over the course of a year. I've been in therapy for a year, and I'm thinking, I think I'm in the presence of a BS artist here. So they can pretend, but it doesn't really come through. Narcissists, as a general rule, are so committed to the false self and to alternate reality that when they come to these crisis points, they have a crossroad, that fork in the road. Do I go down this way, and do I just say, you know what, I've been dishonest for so many years, I've got to figure out what my honesty is, my honest self is all about, and if it's ugly, I need to face it, and I need to take responsibility. No excuses, no blame shifting, none of that. But then over time, when the dust is settled and the tension isn't quite as high or prominent or public, some of them can start backpedaling. Well, yeah, but if that other person hadn't done these things wrong, or if I had better circumstances, none of this would have happened. And so it requires time for it to show. So yes, narcissists can get to a point where it seems that they're at a breaking point, but there are 2 characteristics, 2 ingredients that need to be in place for the duration before you know that these are they're trustworthy people. And when I say for the duration, days, weeks, months, years, decades. And those 2 ingredients are humility and empathy. When those characteristics are fully intact, then we know that they have hit their breaking point, and some real breakthrough is actually coming. Absent of that, it's just window dressing. So thanks to these people who sent in their comments and questions. If you have some of yours that you'd like to have answered, who knows? Put them in the comment section directly below the video here. Who knows, you may be part of the next episode of Unbound. If you haven't already subscribed to our channel, please do so. I so appreciate it when you allow me to be a part of your journey. Know that I just mentioned therapy. Know that I've been sponsored for years by the people at BetterHelp.com. If you have a need to seek out some resources in that regard, you know the people there. It's an online therapy resource. There's a link below the video, and you can answer a few questions and select a therapist. And I'm hoping you would find somebody that could help you sift this out. If the need is warranted, please do that. And then in addition, if you check out my website, you find that I've got 4 primary courses, online classes. Each one has at least 25 teaching videos with handouts and questions, and it's a walkthrough. It's a guiding kind of thing, and you can do it in a very systematic kind of way. The price of the courses is roughly the price of 2 counseling sessions, so that's, to me, that's pretty good. And it would be an investment in yourself, and hopefully a great learning opportunity for you. Check those out, as well as my webinars and then my articles and my books. We have a lot of resources for you. So can a narcissist change? Yeah, they can. Is it likely? Not often. It's way too rare. I wish it was more of it. More often than not, it's the person who's living with them that has to make the adjustment. But from time to time, it can happen. But you need to be very wary and allow plenty of time to show you what really is the truth. So, Team Healthy, stay on your efforts to be that right kind of person. And I wish you the best as you seek both steadiness and peace.